This is the Easter season, and I wonder whether it has ever occurred to you, why Easter? Yes, it shows up on our calendar. We look forward to a long weekend. But what really is Easter? Does Easter just follow Christmas and we are thankful for the two holidays? I want to share very briefly about Easter. And I've chosen to share these thoughts around a verse that is found in the 12th chapter of the book of Hebrews, the second verse. And in that verse, the writer to the Hebrews says this: "For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising its shame, and is now seated at the right hand of God." That verse is talking about Jesus. And I wanted to break it down into its three obvious sections. The joy set before him, he endured the cross, despising its shame, and the third part is, and he now sits at the right hand of God. I wonder whether you noticed that for the joy that was set before him was past tense. He endured the cross was what happened when he was killed. The endurance was what he had to do, and now seated at the right hand of God is something that we will see in the future. So let's look at each one of those very quickly. The joy that was set before him. Jesus knew before the foundation of the world that he would be brought into the world to come in the place of man, to die on the cross, to satisfy the just requirements of God's holiness that could only be satisfied by him. And so Jesus died on Good Friday. He was put on the cross. He was nailed to the cross because of you and I. But it was for the joy that was set before him. So what was Jesus' joy? The joy of Jesus was the privilege of having you and I join him in heaven as a son or a daughter of God. A son and a daughter of God who, because he died in their place, get to go into heaven and to sit with him at the right hand of God. And notice it says, for the joy that was set before him. Jesus did not enjoy dying for you and I. In fact, he wondered and asked God, why don't you let this cup of suffering pass? But it was because of what he knew would result from what he did on the cross that gave him joy. Joy was the result of the hard work of the painful death on the cross. The joy set before him. Notice it also then says he endured the cross. He had to put up with the cross, its shame. The cross was mounted outside the city of Jerusalem. It was a capital offense. People would have been arriving in Jerusalem for the Passover feast, and they would see these three crosses with Jesus in the middle. It was a shameful death. He endured that for you and I. So Easter reminds us of the cost, the shame that he had to endure as he was treated like a common criminal for something he had not done, but for who he was, so that he could secure your eternity and my eternity through his sacrificial death on the cross. And what was the result? That he is now seated at the right hand of God. It was like his reward for having gone through and done what God had wanted him to do. And he voluntarily chose to do, to die for you and I. This is what Easter is about. And as surely as Jesus now sits at the right hand of God, so you and I, as we endure through life, knowing that we will one day enjoy the fullness of being in God's presence, we can go through life perseveringly, enduringly, with the joy of Jesus, because he's gone ahead of us. He becomes our model. So Easter is the opportunity to be reminded again of the joy that is ours because Jesus had joy as he went through his death on our behalf to secure for us an eternity which we will fully enjoy, seated with him in heaven as his brothers and sisters. And that is what Easter is about. Thank you.